Good morning, everyone. How are you today? Welcome to the AWS Developer Theater. I'm Alex Casalboni, and today I'm sharing with you some tips and tricks and some more information about the AWS Cloud. A little bit about me before we get started. I'm a software engineer, web developer. I've been into a startup for 4.5 years, more or less. I've seen things. And I'm really passionate about serverless and artificial intelligence and other very interesting technologies that we'll be talking about today. So we have sessions, technical sessions until 5 p.m. today and as well as tomorrow. So stay around. Before I get started, I want to tell you what's changing with the cloud and why is the cloud different at all. But I want to start by asking you a question. So how many of you have used the cloud? How many of you can call themselves cloud users? There's your hands. Have you stored data in the cloud, created instances? Okay, pretty much maybe half, 50%? Cool. And of those, and all the others, how many of you have created software or built system in the more traditional approach, in a data center by buying physical hardware and infrastructure? Raise your hand. Okay, a little less. Great. So those that raise your hand right now, did you enjoy that experience? Was buying physical hardware, waiting weeks or months to get a machine in your garage, a great experience? What I want to highlight is how that process has changed in the last few years, actually less than 10 years. So we used to really go to the IT department and say, hey, I need a machine, or maybe 10, or maybe 100, who knows, and please give me those machines as soon as possible. And what happens is, okay, they take the request. Maybe they go and buy it physically in a store. Maybe they bring it back weeks, if not months later. And the effect of that is that your agility or your ability to build new software, to build new infrastructure, to innovate at all takes months, if not years. So what's really changed with the cloud is that that loop now takes minutes, if not seconds. Okay, so you can spin up a new machine or start putting data into the cloud or start using these services, Amazon Web Services, within seconds. Okay, no upfront commitment, no licensing, no monthly or yearly costs. Okay, all you do is choose the services that you need to use, combine them together, because you can think of them as building blocks, and then start using them. You don't like them, you switch that service off, or you replace it with something else. And that really takes minutes or hours instead of weeks or months. That's really the difference. So the ability to quickly provision new services and to think about your infrastructure in a more agile way. So instead of spending 10 millions to buy physical hardware, you can now say, okay, I need, 2,000 euro per month of these super big compute GPU instances, and then you shut it down next month. You don't need it anymore. So that changes how people build software, how developers think of their architectures. And it's not just agility and speed. It's also about having the actual features. Okay, we're not talking anymore about just storage or networking or compute capacity. We're talking about a fully featured cloud environment where you have all sort of features and services and capabilities. So from artificial intelligence to data analysis to real-time data capabilities and so on. So today I want to tell you a little bit, very high level, what this cloud platform looks like and what you can do with it. The effect of this speed and feature-rich environment allows you to not reinvent the wheel at every project, at every team, at every organization. And that generates innovation, and that generates happy developers. I'm a developer. I hope you're a developer too. So let's dive in, and let me show you what the platform looks like. It's not very useful. I can't even read it, but it's just to give you an idea of how diverse and how many different. These are not even services. They're like topic areas, like compute and networking, and there are now more than 125 services, AWS services, that provide you different features and capabilities and so on. So. I want to now zoom in and show you exactly what some of these service areas allows you to do, and what are the benefits, and how you can combine them together to build your own systems. Let's start by the core components of the platforms. Okay. Let's start by the physical infrastructure. Okay, we have this concept of AWS region. A region, you can think of it, it's a geographical region. So maybe in Europe we have one in Dublin, one in London, one in Paris. We recently announced one in Stockholm. We have one in Frankfurt, Germany. So more regions are coming every time, but don't get confused. A region is not a single data center. So within a region, we have the concept of availability zones. An availability zone, even an availability zone is not a single data center. You can think of availability zones as like failure-independent kind of logical data centers where you can deploy your services, your machines, whatever you're building, to make sure, we take care of securing that these logical data centers are physically distributed. We minimize and distribute the risk so that even if a whole building or a whole physical data center goes down, your availability zones are still up and running. So you have all the tools to deploy your system, your architecture in different availabilities and in different regions. So this could be 10 or 10 different data centers. So we take care of replicating data and networking configuration and so on for you. So there are now 18 regions worldwide. More are coming all the time. It's hard to keep up, to be honest. And as I mentioned, some of these availability zones, they are not physical data centers. So in the largest availability zones, you actually have more than one data center. So we take care of that. So not only regions and AZs, but also POPs, point of presence, or edge locations. Maybe you've heard this word as well. So these are not 10 or 20, these are hundreds, like more than 120 around the world. And this allows us and you to have a more like capillary way of connecting to the AWS network. So there are many around Europe, in Africa, in Asia, America, Australia, everywhere. So the point there is that you want for you to connect to your own on-premises infrastructure maybe, and for your customers maybe to access our content delivery network. You want to have these 120 plus edge locations around the world to optimize latency and to really minimize the network hops between you or your customers and the AWS Cloud. So we keep adding more edge locations everywhere around the world, and we are not even done there. So if there is not an edge point in your location, it will come pretty soon. So this is the core infrastructure concepts. These are not really services. So within a region, you will find all the services that we'll talk about today and tomorrow. The core services that we want to talk about now, you think about, we announced these services, some of these services back in 2006. So it's been 12 years. And we keep adding more features. And I want to tell you a little bit about this compute and storage and networking and content delivery network, databases. So these are the core components, like the raw kind of infrastructure level components that you can use to build your own architectures. So in the compute space, you can think of like virtual machines and containers. You can create your own virtual network, configure all the routing tables. So you can really build your own network and your own physical data center, if you will. But there you also have a way to configure containers or build your load balancing if you want to have a fleet of servers behind a load balancer. So you can do all sort of configuration to build your own infrastructure. And it's not just machines, they're not all equal. You can choose from more than 20 different instance types. So maybe your workloads are more compute intensive, or maybe you need 10 terabytes of RAM. Okay, you can have 10 terabytes of RAM if you want. Or maybe you need the network or storage optimized instances. You go and pick the instance that you like, okay? And you pay by the hour. Actually, you pay by the second since a few months ago. So that's really fascinating. How you went from buying physical hardware, 10 million investment, to you pay by the second of your virtual machine. So very cool. Maybe you have other scenarios where you need GPUs or accelerated computing. Okay, you have instances with GPUs as well. So you can really adapt your architecture to your own specific need or to the specific project you're working on. If you need to do machine learning, model training, or specific scenarios. And then we go into the storage and networking kind of services where you can think of it of, there are different services actually. So you may have object storage with S3, you could have block storage with Amazon Elastic Block Storage. So there are very different ways to support your storage requirements. You might want to archive your data with Amazon Glacier if you want to save some money and store your infrequently accessed data. There are even ways to import and export your data from your on-premises data centers maybe. Maybe you have a petabyte of data. That's kind of hard to kind of transmit over the wire. So we can even deliver to you like physical devices where you load stuff and then we go and take that back to our data center. So there are different ways to move data around from your current, maybe on-premise in-house data center to the cloud. And then we go all the way to the database world where we like to have this mantra of database freedom, where you are completely free to choose what database to run. And we are supporting a lot of open source databases as well. You can think of, in the relational world, you can think of MariaDB, MySQL, PostgreSQL, all the way to SQL Server, Oracle, and so on. But maybe you are more into NoSQL database. So maybe you want an object, like more scalable NoSQL kind of approach. Okay, you can go and choose maybe Amazon DynamoDB. That's a good alternative. Or maybe you are more into like caching scenarios, so you need some sort of Redis or some sort of memcache, okay? That's supported too. Or maybe you need some kind of migration help because you are, I don't know, into a database or you want to migrate to a new one. We have tools like database migration tools that allow you to migrate the schema and migrate the data, eventually to live migrate if you're doing a live migration from another environment. So these are the core capabilities around compute, storage, and networking, but that's not over there. That's like the little bottom left part of the big picture. So let's move up. Actually left, right, whatever. So security is really an important topic today. And it is our top priority. It is where we invest a lot of money and a lot of time to make sure that everything we build is secure by default. And here we actually adopt a shared security model. Why shared, and shared between who exactly? So we like to say that it is shared between you, the developer, and us, the cloud. Why, in which way? So we make sure that the cloud, we take care of the security of the cloud, while you take care of the security in the cloud. So whatever you build in the cloud, like application level security, of course, it's up to you. If you open a port open, or if you have a unpatched dependency in your code, that's a shared, we can't go and fix your stuff. We are not touching your stuff, okay? We take care of the cloud security. And it's not just about network and like DDoS protection. It's really about physical security, okay? We have hundreds of data centers around the world. That means we have to make sure that these buildings are secure physically from human access and so on. So that's also on us. It's a lot of heavy lifting that you don't have to take care of. Something I want to highlight, actually one of my favorite features is this identity management. So you can use the IAM, Identity and Access Management Service, to have very fine control of who can do what in your cloud environment. So maybe you want this specific machine or a service to access another machine or service. Okay, you can just grant that service very specific permissions to do just that. So that really allows you to control who can do what and to do monitoring and auditing of what's going on in your environment. That really gives you all the tools and building blocks. We also like to say that monitoring and logging are universal rights. Okay, so like 99.9% of the services are built in, integrated with Amazon CloudWatch, which is where you find all your logs and metrics, so you can build dashboards and do logs analysis and so on. This is very, very important. What else? Another great thing is that we don't just work with startups or development teams. We work with enterprise financial institutions, large corporations that have very tight security constraints. And the best thing is whenever we build a new feature or we enhance security for some of these financial or large corporate institutions, well, the good news is the same feature is available for everyone. So when we innovate for one customer, we actually innovate for everyone. So if you are a small startup now, you get all the auditing, logging, monitoring, security tools that the big financial institutions have around the world. So that's a game changer. That's democratizing technology. That's what we like to do in the cloud. Cool, let's move up. We have seen a lot from our customers in the IoT and in the machine learning space. I don't know if you're familiar with IoT. It's literally about controlling and collecting data and managing things, Internet of Things around the world. And it's really painful to do if you build the whole stack yourself. You want to have bidirectional communication. You want to have data collection, data analysis, swarm logics, or you want to protect devices with certificates. So AWS IoT is a service that gives you just that. It comes with a lot of functionalities, but what I like to highlight is that it's not built for only IoT use cases. We have seen customers started using it for other use cases as well. So since you have this bidirectional communication kind of protocol, like MQTT, you can actually embed that into HTTPS and kind of build like a WebSocket kind of application. So some customers are using AWS IoT for the web applications as well. So don't be misguided by the name. You can use AWS IoT for a lot of use cases, actually. And then there is a lot happening in the machine learning space. That's going nuts. We have almost more than 10 AI services. So some of them are at the raw level where you can build and train your own machine learning models with tools like MXNet or TensorFlow or Gluon or any kind of machine learning framework, all the way up the stack to Amazon SageMaker, which helps you with the operation, the machine learning operations, like deploying, training, evaluating the model, retraining periodically, and so on, all the way up to what we call the application services that gives you pre-trained models, like Amazon Recognition to do face detection, or Poly to do text-to-speech, or Transcribe to do speech-to-text. So you have these pre-trained models behind just an API, just a service. So you don't have to configure it, you don't have to pay a subscription or a license. You just start invoking it, and you pay by the usage, pay as you go. So it's super cool to use. I think today, the agenda of today's in the theater is mostly about AI. So if you're curious about machine learning and AI in the cloud, I think the next 2 or 3 sessions will be about AI, so stay around. So a lot is happening here. So AI services are great, but maybe you are a data scientist. So maybe you want to have hardware acceleration, and you want to train your own models with deep learning capabilities and GPUs and maybe pre-trained frameworks or algorithms. So that comes with the cloud as well. What else? So we're doing a lot. Translation, speech recognition, NLP, NLU, like natural language understanding. That's very popular right now. So we see a lot. And the idea, the mission for us is to democratize machine learning, is to put AI in the hands of each and every developer. Okay, you don't need to be a PhD in data science if you want to parse audio, transcribe audio, or if you want to let your application speak or see the world. Okay, we believe that by providing these services, we can put machine learning in the hands of each one of you. So you can build on top of it and build even smarter applications. So if you think about conversational interfaces like Amazon Alexa, or if you think about, I don't know, improving the efficiency of your teams. Maybe you have development teams or sales teams or marketing teams, and you want to provide them with like sentiment analysis capabilities and so on. So this is how you go and build it without reinventing the wheel again. That's the point of the cloud. Okay, let's move to the other side of the chart. Here we see a lot in the analytics space. A lot is happening. So we have seen a real shift from the old traditional world where it takes months, if not years, to do anything, to use cases where customers need to know what's happening right now in real time. Okay, that's a real shift. So we have built a lot of building blocks and tools that help you collect data in real time, maybe to do clickstream analytics or to analyze what's going on in your system. It could be an IoT system, could be a web system, could be any system. So you can collect data, do real-time window queries with SQL syntax on it, or maybe you have tons or gigabytes or petabytes of data and you want to analyze this data, even if it's not real time. So maybe you want to, okay, you can spin up your Hadoop cluster and manage a cluster of 10,000 machines, or maybe you can do interactive SQL queries with tools like Amazon Athena into your data lake. So that's an option as well. So we see a lot happening there, all the way to the application services where maybe you want to send emails to your customers, maybe you want to handle queues between your services to decouple them, or maybe you want to handle complex workflow in a visual kind of way. So that's also available. Maybe we have more interesting features like you want to transcode your videos. Maybe you are an e-learning platform or a video delivery platform, and you want to transcode your videos for different devices or different resolution or different formats. Elastic Transcode will do that for you. Or maybe you want to add search features to your application, to your web or mobile application, and you can use Elasticsearch or Amazon Cloud Search to implement search. You just bring data and we implement everything. Very cool. So what's happening in the DevOps space in here? This is moving really quickly. We like to provide building blocks. Okay, I've said building blocks a lot of times already, and that's exactly what we do. So we provide your DevOps kind of, or developers or DevOps kind of people the ability to build their own continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines. They can go and automate build and tests and reach the mantra of continuous deployment all the way to production as soon as you change your code with all the automation capabilities that we provide. So you can go and build your triggers or manage containers at scale. We recently announced Amazon Kubernetes Service, EKS, Elastic Kubernetes Service. So if you are into containers, you can choose between ACS and EKS, Kubernetes or container service. There is a lot happening. If you want to patch millions or thousands or tens of thousands of machines, you have tools like the AWS System Manager that allows you to run commands on fleets of machines without SSH into each one of them. So you can automate large-scale patching tasks as well. If you want to just forget about it, you can just jump all the way to serverless, like AWS Lambda. So we take care of all of that for you. We deploy your applications into multiple availability zones. You have all the tools to deploy to multiple regions eventually, so you can reach higher availability and resiliency. There's a lot happening in the mobile space as well. We call it mobile. I prefer to call it like modern application. So it includes mobile and web as well. So there is a lot happening with Amazon API Gateway, identity management. How many times have you implemented user login, logout, forgot password? I think, raise your hand with a number. If it's more than 5, I'm sorry. At least 5, okay, cool. I implemented it at least 10 times. I don't want to do it anymore, so you can use Amazon Cognito to handle all of that. Two-factor authentication, sign in, sign up, email notification, triggers, like new user sign up, you can hook a trigger, run your AWS Lambda function, and customize how the service runs. So really cool stuff happening there with mobile analytics, mobile app testing. If you have a mobile application, maybe in 2 or 3 platforms, maybe you want to automate tests in 10,000 devices with different versions of the OS and different, okay, you have AWS Mobile Farm. You can do that and automate the testing task as well. Okay, so we have seen some of the features. There are more. And if you're curious, you can stay around today and tomorrow. We have sessions from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So stay around. It's an evolving space. And what I want to share with you is that it's so exciting because the pace of innovation is not slowing down. It's actually accelerating. So this is a chart of how quickly we are innovating with the AWS Cloud. Last year, we announced more than 1,430 new services, features, and enhancements. So if you do the math, that's more than 5. We don't do stuff in weekends and holidays, and it's more than 5 a day. So I like to wake up every morning, I have coffee, and I read the list of new stuff that I can use today. It's amazing. I don't have the number for 2018. I believe it's going into the 2000s, so it will be fun. And actually, later this month in Las Vegas, we are going to have our yearly event, our conference, where we announce I don't know how many new stuff, new services, new features, and improvements. So stay tuned. I'll share more about reInvent in a second. But before that, I want to give you an example of how you can get started with AWS really quickly, like right now or this afternoon. So let me show you how you can get a taste of all these services, how you can kind of combine them together to build your own project. Let me mirror eventually. Yes. OK, so are you familiar with the AWS Console? If you're not, this is the AWS Console. It's a web console where you can configure and explore and play with the services. I didn't mention so far, but there is an AWS free tier, we call it, that allows you to use most of the services for free for the first 12 months. Some of the services even after the first 12 months. So you can keep using them for free up to a certain quota. So don't feel afraid to play around. That's the best thing you can do. Play around, experiment, try new things. That's what we like doing. So I want to show you how you can get started by using one of the one of the tools in the code suite. We call it Code Star, meaning code star, like everything, code everything. So it's a tool that helps you understand where is your starting point. It will create your CI/CD pipeline. It will give you a sample template for your project. It will create a dashboard for you. So I want to show you what the experience looks like. So let me get off the Wi-Fi, because maybe it's a bit slow today. Let's try again. I think I'm out of the network. Let me try this. You know, live stuff is really fun. And let's see. There we go. OK, so this is the AWS Console again. I just selected the CodeStar service. And as you can see here, you can select the region. You have a support center. You can see what's the current user and so on. So let's start a new project. Now I'm in the North Virginia region, which is in the west coast of the United States. As you can see, there's Frankfurt, Ireland, London, and so on. So let's start a new project with CodeStar. It's really interesting because you can choose between your application category. It could be a web application, a web service, a skill with Alexa, a static website. So for today, let's choose maybe a web service. And then you can go and choose your language. So what do you choose? I'll go for maybe Python today. I'm a Python guy. But maybe you are a Node.js person, or your team is using Java or Go. So pick your language. And here on the right, you will find like sample templates that you can start from. Okay? And you can choose between different runtimes or backends. Okay? So here we see the AWS Lambda backend. Or maybe you want to go directly into an EC2 instance if you want to SSH and change stuff directly into the machine. Or maybe you can use Beanstalk, which is a managed environment that will kind of automate some of the heavy lifting for you. It's like an in-between kind of abstraction layer. So for today, let's go with AWS Lambda. So it's a bit faster, and I can show you some cool things. So let's call it Web Summit Demo. So here you can choose where you're going to store your code in your Git repository. So it could be AWS Code Commit. It could be GitHub. We keep working to add more options. So maybe you're using Bitbucket. We'll get there. Let's choose Code Commit for today, so it's a bit faster to configure. Web Summit Demo, next. So here we can review. We are still in the first setting up stuff. And this is the CI/CD pipeline that will be configured automatically for us. So we will have our code-on-code commit. We'll be able to build and run tests with AWS Code Build. And then we will deploy our stuff with CloudFormation and Code Build and Code Deploy, and all the monitoring, logging, and everything will be managed by CloudWatch. So this is the default stack. Of course, then you can go and customize it, but I think it's a pretty good default to start from. So let's create the project. It's my first time here, so I want to be Alex. This is my email. Don't spam me, please. There we go. So now that the project is spinning up, we can choose where we are more comfortable coding. So you're a developer, right? So maybe you're using Eclipse or Visual Studio. Maybe you're a CLI genius. I'm not. So today I'm using AWS Cloud 9. It's a cloud-native coding environment. So you have this IDE in the cloud, in the browser. So you can switch laptop. You can go to your grandmother's computer and start coding wherever you are. It's really cool. So Cloud 9. Next. So here I can configure some parameters about Cloud 9. One of the best features of Cloud 9 is that, under the hood there is a machine that needs to run like your terminal commands. So what you want, maybe you're not coding 24/7. If you are, awesome. But maybe you're not coding, maybe you're coding 6, 5, 8 hours a day. So the best feature of Cloud 9 is that it will shut down the instance automatically after 30 minutes if you don't use it. You can configure that. Maybe you want it to be an hour and a half. But by default, it will shut down in half an hour. So you can save some money there. Next. OK, so now the project is spinning up. It will take a few minutes. So what I did is I pre-created one in the Ireland, Dublin region. So we can do it, of course. So I can show you what it will look like. So I already created one here, Web Summit. So what would happen if we waited a few minutes is that it will create this dashboard for you. Is it big enough? OK. So it will create this dashboard for your project. OK, you do this for every project. And it will come with a wiki, so you can create this wiki here. It's completely customizable. It will create your Cloud 9 environment, so with a couple of clicks, you can go and start coding in the browser. It will show you the application endpoints. In this sample application, there is only one endpoint. If we invoke it, okay, it's a very simple API that will give me a JSON output, like raw data. It's a JSON output, hello world, with the current timestamp. So we know it's not cached or anything. It's live coding being executed. Here we see our Git history with all the commits and who committed what and so on. And we also have a pre-built dashboard to monitor what's going on, how many invocations we have, and so on. If you like Jira, if you are a Jira person, you can go and configure users, add your Jira to create issues and do issue tracking and so on. And here on the right, we also have our CI/CD pipeline already configured for us. So every time I git push, I will get my source updated, the build phase will start, and the code will be deployed to production. It's a mono environment, so I don't have test, pre-prod, prod. It's just production right now. So let me show you how we can go and change this sample template. It's not doing much. But here I have my Cloud 9 environment. So let's open it. It will take, I don't know, 20 seconds. So as you can see already in the background, you have this IDE, as you would expect. You have files, you have folders, you have this terminal here in the bottom, and here you have your files. And everything is customizable. Actually, even the CodeStar dashboard that I showed you here, this is all customizable, OK? I can drag stuff, and maybe I want to have the chart up here, so I move it up. And you can customize what the dashboard looks like as well. OK, so we are in. We have this terminal running in a few seconds. So it's a real terminal. I can enter folders and see what's in there. So I have a Web Summit project, because that's the name of the project I chose. And here I have an index.py file that contains the logic for my Lambda function. That's being the backend of my API. So it's a very simple function. We get a HTTP event as input. And we want to return a 200 status code with the JSON body. So the body will be hello world and with the current timestamp. Very, very simple. So maybe let's do hello Lisbon. Okay, so we change what the code is doing pretty quickly. So let's git add, index, git commit, hello Lisbon, and git push. Okay, that was 3 comments, nothing crazy. But in a few seconds, what happens is that even in our CodeStar console, we'll see that a new commit will be added here. And in another few seconds, we'll see that our CI/CD pipeline will start and rebuild our artifacts and redeploy everything to the production account. Let's refresh, maybe. There we go. So we have hello Lisbon committed by Alex 20 seconds ago. And there you go. The source phase has started. A few seconds, we will build and deploy to production. So maybe in another minute, if we refresh our API endpoint, we'll see hello Lisbon. We can go and wait, but I wanted to show you how you can go and build an API with a dashboard monitoring CI/CD in literally 5 minutes. Okay, that's the power of the cloud. Let's go back. Cool. So I mentioned how many new features and services and updates are there every day. So how do you keep up with all this stuff? A few tips for you. If you want to take a picture of that, that will link you to the AWS blog. What I personally do actually is, every blog and every major category and page in the AWS blogs, they have a feed, an RSS feed that you can listen and you can have maybe connecting to third-party services and receive emails. So what I personally do is I receive an email for each and every update every morning. And that's the first thing I do every morning. Maybe don't do that, but that's a cool thing to have all the updates coming to you instead of you going and fetching updates. But there are so many articles ranging from, hey, there is a new managed database, or hey, advanced topic, parallel query for Amazon Athena. So you can go and discover each service, each category. Maybe you are into the compute or IoT or database. You can go and choose the articles you like more. Social media is very important, and open source is very important as well. So make sure you follow these AWS official accounts, AWS Cloud, AWS Startups. We are on Facebook as well. There is a lot of stuff on GitHub. Okay, not only like all the AWS SDKs. Actually, you will find even the AWS documentation on GitHub. So you find an error, you want to contribute, you want to ask questions, open an issue there, talk to us. There is a page somewhere, probably aws.github.io, where you can find all of these projects together in one single page instead of fetching multiple accounts. Sorry, picture. Did you take a picture? Cool. I'm going too far. I didn't mention yet, but you are on Twitch right now. Okay, there is a camera back there, and we are streaming all the events today. So make sure you follow us on Twitch. If you are having lunch later, maybe you want to connect and follow us on Twitch. It's all live. You can ask questions. We have people taking questions all the time. So make sure you talk to us there as well. There is no we don't have content 24/7, but that will happen pretty soon. So if you connect to twitch.tv/AWS, you will find all the live streaming content from AWS right there. I mentioned re:Invent. So that is our yearly annual conference that we do every year around late November. And that's where we announce so much stuff. And if you can't come to Vegas, I'll be there. But if you can't come to Vegas, there is a live streaming as well. So you can attend the keynotes remotely and hear about all the news and updates that we will release later this month. So stay tuned there. What you can do today and tomorrow to stay tuned, we are talking about a lot of AI and networking, computing, IoT, edge computing. So catch with our speakers. We are all here around the AWS booth and the AWS theater. You can ask an expert if you have questions, technical questions. We are here for you today, so go and come and talk to us. We are in the developer workshop, so stay around. After each session, will be requested to go out because sessions can be you can pre-register for a session, so there will be a queue, and please stay around and join us later. So what's happening today? I mentioned it, a lot around AI, machine learning at Amazon, breaking language barriers, so how you build conversational interfaces, for example, or deep learning, if you are into deep learning but you have no idea what it is, so we are going to demystify it and kind of tell you what it looks and what it means in simple words. Or again, AI from the cloud, probably about application services, avoiding common mistakes at scale, how to build multi-regional applications in the cloud. That will be very cool, about architecture and how you improve availability and resiliency of your architecture globally. Very cool topic. And this is for today, and tomorrow, very similar agenda. So this same introduction session every morning at 10, and then technical sessions from 11 to 5 p.m. So a bit of machine learning, chaos engineering, how do you go and break things in production or in test to make sure that they behave correctly when something gets broken. So very cool chaos engineering session. I will do the from data collection to actionable insights. So how do you data analytics, data warehousing, how you build data lakes in a serverless fashion, how you process financial transactions, some about IoT and ad-based monetization opportunities for web and mobile applications. So stay tuned, we'll be here, and thank you for coming. If you were not scanned already, if you didn't scan your badge, don't forget that by being scanned, you can access your $200